Hello friends, you've stumbled across a short clip from the Daily Switch 2 podcast, which, believe it or not, is a podcast that is about the Switch 2 with new episodes released daily. What will they think of next? Yeah, next up was Sonic Racing CrossWorlds X Pac-Man World 2 Re-Pac DLC collaboration. I've already done as I mentioned, a 40-minute complete literal autistic breakdown. I say literal autistic because I am autistic. I literally had a meltdown as soon as I saw that this had been announced. I was like, okay, drop everything. I'm going to react to this one first before I do everything else. Just overjoyed for this. I think it looks fantastic. I think both games look amazing. Both games were already right near the top of my most anticipated, and then to have Pac-Man and really cool looking Pac-Man racetracks in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is great. And then to have Sonic levels in Pac-Man World 2 and have Generations style side-scrolling and boost gameplay, but with Pac-Man in Green Hill Zone, and there are more levels to be announced. My God, it just looks absolutely fantastic to me. Now, I'm not going to be doing the format that I'll be using for all the other games where I talk about it a lot and then do a reaction to the trailer and everything else, because I've already done that and I talked about it for like 40 minutes. But I promised that I would do a bit of research and come back with the information that we need to know. So it's obviously both of these games are coming out for Switch 1 and Switch 2, and the DLC collaborations for both will be available for Switch 1 and Switch 2 as well. So that is fantastic. Both games obviously have physical versions, but as far as I know, actually for certain the DLC won't come on the physical versions, which is a shame. I say I know that for certain because the DLCs are coming after launch. They're not day one DLC, they will happen afterwards. But if you pre-order the games or buy the deluxe versions that include the DLC, obviously you get it as soon as it drops. So let's look at CrossWorlds first. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is coming out on the 25th of September for everything except the Switch 2. So that includes the Switch 1. If you buy it on the Switch 1, it comes out on the 25th of September. If you buy it on PS5, Xbox Series, PC, there might even be a PS4 version, I can't remember. But yeah, basically everywhere on 25th of September except the Switch 2. And I've talked about this at length before, so I won't really go into it much here. But I would guess that the reason for that is not because they had any developmental problems with the Switch 2 or getting it to run properly or anything like that. I would guess it's because of just how badly Sega's game keycard sales have been. And that is basically confirmed because the Switch 2 version will be released physically entirely on the card. It won't be a game key card, it will be entirely on the card. So the Switch 2 version we don't have a release date for, but we do know they have said holiday 2025, so digitally in time for Christmas, and then physically in early 2026. So obviously it does take a while to pre-order and get them all manufactured, all the physical copies. So if you're like me and you're waiting for a physical copy for the Switch 2, your physical copy for the Switch 2 will be early 2026. But you will be able to play it digitally in time for Christmas, but we don't know. However, as I said, it's the full physical game on the card. Base game, not the DLC. And those who buy the Switch 1 version, whether digitally or you can buy the physical Switch 1 version on September the 25th, you can then upgrade it to the Switch 2 version for just $10 when the Switch 2 version does launch. So I'm sure a lot of people will be doing that. I'm tempted to do that myself. I don't particularly want my first experience playing Sonic Racing CrossWorlds to be on the Switch 1, as I'm sure the Switch 1 will be pared back when compared to, say, the PS5 or playing on a decent spec PC. But, I mean, I am a crazy Sonic collector, and I tend to, one way or another, eventually end up with every single copy of every single Sonic game on every single format. So, yeah, I probably will be buying the Switch one version. It's great that you can then digitally upgrade for $10, but I will be buying the physical Switch 2 version anyway. So yeah, we've had a lot of little drips and drabs of information about Sonic Racing CrossWorlds since I last talked about it at length. The theme song, amusingly, is sung by James from Busted. Those of you in the UK will know, or those of you of a certain age in the UK will remember Busted. But James also kind of went solo and then set up his own solo project with some bandmates called Son of Dork. He then became a member of Muck Busted when that happened. If you remember Muck Busted, it was like a kind of cross collaboration of certain ex-members of Busted and McFly. And for those that don't remember Busted, by the way, they did a song called Year 3000, which if you're in America you won't know Busted, but you will know the Jonas Brothers did I've been to the year 3000, right? That was originally a song by Busted, who is a British band. And what's really amusing to me is obviously the Jonas Brothers at the time were heavily promoted by Disney. They were on Disney Channel original movies with Camp Rock and things like this, but also they had their own series, which I think was just called Jonas, but I don't remember. What was really amusing to me was Busted in the UK were considered, they were a rock band or a kind of pop rock band, but they were considered like for kids really, or for kind of younger kind of tweens and teens. But that song Year 3000, when the Jonas Brothers covered it, they ended up censoring it, which really amused me because it was in the UK it was considered a kid's song anyway. But yeah, the Year 3000, if you're American and you only know the American Jonas Brothers version, he says, not much has changed, but they live underwater. And your great-great-great-granddaughter is doing fine, right? But in the original version in the UK, it's, and your great-great-great-granddaughter is pretty fine. Like, yeah, she's hella sexy. And apparently that was way too inappropriate for Disney. You can't say, oh, your great-great-great-granddaughter is attractive. Apparently that's beyond the pale. That always really, really amused me. Anyway, we've also had an announcement that there will be more of the absolutely beautiful 2D hand-drawn animation that we tend to get in most new Sonic games nowadays for the intro and hopefully for some cutscenes and things as well. But at the very least, we'll get a beautiful animated intro. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, they've stated that it removes unfair and stressful items from kart racing. So it makes it more about pure racing and more about skill. And to me, this makes me grin from ear to ear because I love Mario Kart games. I am a big Mario Kart fan, but I'm one of those people who hates the blue shell and hates the kind of randomizedness of items that are completely unfair, and you can be the most skilled player in the world and you can be in first place because you deserve to be in first place, and then somebody who's in last place gets a blue shell and they take you out at the last minute and it's not your fault, and it's so frustrating. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds won't have any of that, none of that shenanigans. No, it's to do with skill. And to me, okay, great. Yes, I have said many times on this channel, I am a big Mario Kart fan. I have bought and played every single Mario Kart game since inception, since the Super Nintendo. But it's, Mario Kart Worlds, it's not bad. It's not a bad game by any standards, but it's not my favorite Mario Kart game, I'm afraid. But my favorite kart racer of all time is Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. I think that's actually better than any other kart racer for various reasons that we don't have time to get into here. And I'm a massive Sonic fanboy anyway, and Sega fanboy. So yeah, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know whether it will be better than Racing Transformed, but at the very least, I'm hoping that I will like it more than I like Mario Kart World. So I'm going to be covering it a heck of a lot on this channel. So if you are as interested in Sonic Racing CrossWorlds as me and you want to hear somebody talking about it a lot, subscribe if you haven't already, because probably when the game comes out on other formats, I'll review it, but I will mention I'm reviewing it for other formats. Then obviously when the DLC drops, I will review that as well, because oh my god, I can't wait for it. And also when the Switch 2 version comes out, I will do a full breakdown review on that as well. So, I've talked about DLC, but similar to Sonic Racing Transformed, this doesn't just include Sonic characters, but it goes a bit left field because it's not all Sega characters. Yes, we do have Sega adjacent characters. So, for example, there's Hatsune Miku, there's Joker from Persona, Ishiban from the Yakuza series, as well as there's some Werehog and Sonic Prime stuff, which is kind of cool, I guess. But they did a deal with Nickelodeon. So there's SpongeBob and Patrick, there's the Ninja Turtles, there's Avatar: The Last Airbender, and each one of these will be part of a season pass. You have to pay the season pass or buy the deluxe version, which includes the season pass, to get these characters, but each one will be a staggered release that comes out on different dates, and each one will include characters and multiple characters from the series, and a unique vehicle as well, and I think tracks, in fact, I know related tracks, so this is great. And also Minecraft. So we have Alex, Steve, and a Creeper as your three characters from Minecraft, and then a Minecraft course as well. So it all looks really, really, really well themed. And now, of course, we have announced the Pac-Man DLC, the collaboration, and that's included in the season pass as well. So the Pac-Man and the four ghosts are the characters. Pac-Man gets his classic style red car with little yellow Pac symbols as rims, which I thought was really neat. The Pac-Man DLC is available if you get the digital deluxe version, but it's also part of the season pass. They aren't available day one, as I said. It's like a slow content rollout with each character a new track. And there's even more on it unannounced. So we will be finding out about even more characters and tracks from different properties. And honestly, this is pretty smart the way they're doing it, because it's going to keep people coming back to play, and it's going to hopefully keep the online mode alive. To me, that's much better than launching at launch with like a million different DLC packs that you can buy separately with different characters and different... No. Having it so you launch with the Sonic characters and maybe Miku and the Sega adjacent characters, and then slowly every month or whatever it is, you release the DLC packs for each characters and tracks. But if somebody has the season pass, they just get them automatically, which is great, and it will keep people coming back, and it will keep the game feeling fresh. I think this is a really, really good idea and a good way of doing it. I do have some issues, as I've mentioned in previous videos. I think it's all looking a bit expensive, and Sega do have a tendency to overcharge, in my opinion, for DLC and season passes. It tends to be a bit steep with the prices, but let's be real, this is a Sonic game. I'm absolutely going to buy it. I was interested in the deluxe edition and the DLC, the season pass, but to be honest, neither SpongeBob or Minecraft, it was really getting me completely hyped. But Ninja Turtles kind of made me go, oh yeah, okay. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, so Ninja Turtles, that made me interested. But then as lights out. As soon as Pac-Man was announced, I'm like, oh no, yeah, 100%. I need to buy the most expensive version now. No question. I can't live without this. So it went from me definitely buying the base version to, okay, now I'm definitely buying the deluxe version. And I'll buy the physical version and whatever I have to pay to get that DLC to work with the the physical version as well, because my god, this looks great. And as I said, I actually think this might end up being a game that I enjoy on the Switch 2 more than Mario Kart World. I know that's going to be controversial opinion, but just because I state an opinion doesn't mean everybody has to agree with it. That's part of what makes life wonderful. But speaking of Mario Kart, I thought it was actually interesting. It occurred to me, Pac-Man has been in a Mario Kart game. So now Pac-Man will have been in a Sonic racing game and in a Mario Kart game. In the arcade Mario Kart games, Pac-Man is in it. Arcade GP and there was two of them, Arcade GP, and I can't remember what the second one was called. But anyway, the reason that happened, interestingly enough, was because the arcade Mario Kart games were a collaboration between Nintendo, Namco, and Sega. And it was using a special arcade board called the Triforce arcade board. Triforce being a nod, obviously, to Zelda, but also the three companies working together. And, could you get three bigger arcade names working together? Namco, Sega, and Nintendo all working together. Fantastic. And the Triforce arcade machines are really, really interesting. They're basically souped up GameCube. So this is why you can don't tell Nintendo, but you can play Triforce arcade games on Dolphin and any obviously on PC, but also there's a lot of Nintendo hardware that supports Dolphins. So if you can hide from the Nintendo ninjas, there are ways to play the Triforce arcade games on, for example, a Wii U and maybe a Wii as well, because they're essentially GameCube hardware, so it'll work. And there was F-Zero games as well, which are really awesome, and they were made by Sega. So of course Sega made F-Zero GX, which to many people is the best F-Zero game. But they also made Sega made a F-Zero arcade game as well, but obviously in collaboration with Nintendo. And there's two Mario Kart games that were exclusive to the arcade, and in those Mario Kart games, Pac-Man is a playable character, presumably because Namco was involved. That's really neat that Pac-Man has now been in a Mario Kart game and now gets to be in a Sonic racing karting game as well. That's really, really awesome. There will be an open network test for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. This was announced at Gamescom. The test will take place later this month on the 29th of August, 2025, and runs until the 1st of September. So pretty soon, in like a week's time. I'm actually really busy around about that time because as some of you will know, I work in the entertainment industry. I'm actually directing and producing a pretty big documentary here in France it's being released around about that time, and there's going to be a lot of panicking and finishing up at the last minute and organisation and me travelling to Paris, so I don't know whether I'll get to play it, but I really, really, really do want to play it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But as I said, I will absolutely, regardless, be making several full videos. At the very least, after the network test, I'll give my thoughts, a proper breakdown of all the news and updates since then. The stuff that I briefly just mentioned, I'll go into a lot more detail, and I'm sure there will be plenty more news between now and then. I'll obviously, as I said, I'll put out a review of the multi-plat version when that releases, and again, when each content pack drops. Then when the Switch 2 version comes out, the physical version drops. So if you are hyped for this game like I am, and if you aren't subscribed already, you know what to do. Re-Pac. Pac-Man World 2 Re-Pac. I don't know how many of you watching this or listening to this will have heard my previous episode, but I made a whole Pac-Man special episode and talked about how excited I was for Pac-Man World 2. Pac-Man World 2 was my number one game of the Partner Direct that I was most excited for. I got really kind of emotional when it was announced because I was like, oh my god, I was really hoping this was going to happen, and then when it did, and I just happened to be recording my live reaction, you can hear how excited I got, and then I made a whole Pac-Man episode. And that was before I knew that there was going to be Sonic DLC for it. And then obviously, as I said, I had that kind of meltdown the other day when I recorded like 40 minutes of me just talking about how amazing this is, how excited I am. So I'm not sure I need to talk about Pac-Man World 2 much more here, other than the information that we now know. The DLC there's not a season pass for Re-Pac. It's called the Collaboration DLC, or the Collaboration Set DLC. So Re-Pac itself comes out on the 26th of September, so the day after Sonic Racing CrossWorlds on Switch 1, and the day after we get Re-Pac. But again, just like Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, the Pac-Man DLC doesn't come out right away, day and date. The Collaboration Set is set to drop winter 2025. So sometime between 26th of September and the new year, we will get the Collaboration Set, which is basically the Sonic DLC. It includes 3 stages, and this preview so far, they've only shown us one stage, which is basically Green Hill, isn't it? And I don't know whether it's split into 2 parts or whether it's like a kind of multi-section stage, but we saw kind of Generation-style gameplay with side-scrolling and with modern boost style as well. But there's going to be 2 more. There's going to be 2 more stages as well, which are as yet unannounced. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would bet that one of them is probably going to be Chemical Plant, isn't it? Because that seems to be what they always go for. I don't know. What would the third be? I don't know. I'm hoping it's not Chemical Plant, because to me that's just been done so many times. But if it is, I'm not going to complain. Seeing Pac-Man running through Green Hill Zone was such a trip, and I'd be just as happy to see him doing anything kind of classic Sonic. Obviously, there's the collab costume as well, where Pac-Man wears a cute little kind of Sonic style hoodie or onesie. It just looks so cute. And if you get this DLC, it also includes the Pac-Land costume for Pac-Man. And I talked about this before in my Pac-Man episode, but just to reiterate here, that is really, really cool, because a lot of people maybe don't realize that Pac-Man does have precedent of being one of the originators of 2D platform gaming. It's arguable that Super Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog might not have existed if it wasn't for Pac-Man. First, in the first place, for Pac-Man basically creating the gaming mascot. Before that, there weren't really mascot characters. It was mostly things like spaceships and generic sports people. Pac-Man was the first game where they purposely went, we want to create a character that's going to be marketable, and children will like it and women will like it, and we can maybe do a cartoon and we can maybe do merchandise. So Pac-Man in 1980 was like the first kind of big gaming character. Yes, even before Donkey Kong. Yes, before obviously Donkey Kong introduced Mario, but that was like a year later. Pac-Man came before that. But also, I said, when the first Pac-Man World came out on the PS1, a lot of people thought, oh, this is just another licensed platformer. Oh, they're going to make a random generic 3D platformer, Mario 64 clone, and they're just shoving Pac-Man in it because, we've got the license, why not? No. Pac-Man had a 2D side-scrolling platformer called Pac-Land before Super Mario Brothers existed. And like 10 years before Sonic the Hedgehog existed. So, and Miyamoto himself has said that Pac-Land in many ways inspired Super Mario Brothers. Yes, Mario Brothers, the arcade game, not Super Mario Brothers, but the arcade game Mario Brothers, the single screen one, did exist before Pac-Land. But Pac-Land inspired Miyamoto when he was making Super Mario Brothers. How do we expand upon the success of Mario Brothers, and what do we do? Oh, okay, we're going to make a side-scrolling game because those are the new popular thing. And he also said there was elements of the graphics that were inspired. For example, every previous Miyamoto game had no background at all. It was just on a plain black background, so no pixels, nothing lit up. So the sky was black. But Pac-Land inspired Miyamoto to have a blue background for Super Mario Brothers. So there wouldn't have been a sky in Super Mario Brothers if it wasn't for Pac-Land, and that's a pretty big element of Super Mario Brothers if you think about it, because Super Mario Brothers introduced the overworld and the underworld. So you go through the pipes and then you end up in the underworld, and then you come back up the pipes and you're in the overworld. And a real big distinction between are you in the underworld or the overworld is, can you see the sky or not? When you're in the underworld, everything is black, but when you're in the overworld, it's blue. And that distinction, and again, Miyamoto has said that seeing Pac-Land running in the arcade was what gave him that inspiration in the first place. So yeah, it's really, really cool that they're paying homage to that with Pac-Man being able to have a Pac-Land costume. Quite why it's being hidden away behind the DLC, I don't know, but I'm absolutely going to buy the DLC anyway. So yeah, that's great. The standard edition is $30 of the game without the DLC, but the deluxe edition, which includes the DLC, is only $40 digitally for the deluxe version. So it's $10 more, and that includes the 3 Sonic stages, the Sonic costume and the Pac-Land costume. And therefore, presumably, if you buy the physical cart, presumably the DLC will be $10. More than worth it, in my opinion. I just absolutely cannot wait for this. And the fact that the deluxe edition, the full thing, is only $40 for what is an enormous game and looks like a quality remake, and it includes this Sonic DLC that to me just looks amazing. Yeah, I couldn't be more excited for it. Could not be more excited for it. As I said, not going to do a trailer reaction here or anything like that, because I've already done that and done a full breakdown. So if you want to hear me breaking that down, you can watch that. And if you want to hear me talking more about Pac-Man World and the history of Pac-Man and the history of Pac-Man World, got a whole full episode on that. So I've probably waffled about it too much here for this short episode. Need to move on. Well, that was funny / sad / informative / stupid, wasn't it? Feel free to mentally redact to make that make sense with the clip that you just heard. I don't know what it was. I'm just recording a bumper. But if you enjoyed the clip, please give it a like. If you'd like to hear more, click subscribe, and you can find all the ways to listen to and support the full daily podcast at linktree/dailyswitch2. That's linktr.ee/dailyswitch2. Let's go! Did I sound like I mean that? I do. I really do.